All right. Hi, everyone, and I hope you're having a great Tuesday so far. My name is Ileana Betancourt. I'm Marketing Manager here at Edulastic, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Getting Started with Digital Assessment. Today, we're going to give you a full overview of Edulastic's free teacher accounts. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to John Kite, who will introduce Edulastic and dive right into things.
Thank you so much, Ileana. And my name is John. I'm from the Edulastic Partnerships team. And on behalf of the team, I just want to welcome you to this Edulastic 101 training. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video, but share my screen. And I'll be sharing a training today. Welcome to Edulastic 101. So what do we plan to cover today? I plan to give a brief introduction on some of the benefits of Edulastic, followed by a walkthrough. I'm going to show how to create a free account, how to manage a class once you've created a free account, how to add students, how to create a test and publish that test and assign that test, and how to monitor progress through what we call the live class board, and also how to view standards mastery across the academic year. And additionally, I'll show you some resources available in our Edulastic Training Hub, which is available at edulastic.com. So what is in the free version? The free version consists of both a teacher account and any associated student accounts that are connected to that teacher's account. And there are many benefits for teachers within the free version of Edulastic and Edulastic as a whole. One is that teachers can view performance in real time. They have immediate performance data that they can access, even while the students are just taking the test and the test is underway. Teachers also can see not only class-wide performance trends, but also individual performance at the student level. They can drill down and they can add comments and see everything that's going on from standards level, question level, and assessment level. Edulastic for Teachers also helps with standards mastery. So every question in Edulastic is tagged to a standard. And in the free version, if you go to the Reports tab, you can see how your students are mastering those standards based on designations that you've set up within something called the Standards Mastery Report. It's a detailed gradebook that I'll be showing as well. So how do students benefit from Edulastic? They actually benefit in a lot of ways. They become a lot more comfortable, or perhaps another way to say it is less anxious about online testing. Students become more familiar with tech-enhanced items. So when they see those items on those end-of-year tests, they have experience with them. So they can better answer those items and focus on the content and focus on demonstrating their understanding of actually the subject that the item's connected to. Students can also review their understanding. So they can access, if they're given full visibility, which is one option that they can be given, they can access the questions. They can access how they responded. They can see the correct answer, and they can see feedback on the question level or assessment level from the teacher. And they can also see detailed solutions when available from the content author. So it's a great source for review if students want to practice before that end of year test on those questions that they missed. They can easily find those items and go back and learn a little bit more about how to, perform better if those items are going to be on the end of year test. So I hear certain themes all the time, especially when I'm at conferences, about why people like Edulastic and what people say about Edulastic. The number one thing I hear is it's easy to use. Edulastic is a modern website. It's designed like a modern website. It's intuitive, it's clean, it's simple. And really all those things equate into time savings. As you're making an initial investment into learning Edulastic, you're going to be getting those payoffs sooner rather than later because of the speed in which you can get up and running with the product. Edulastic is also tech enhanced. If you have tech enhanced questions at the end of the year on your state test, students can become more prepared and experienced in answering those. And you have access within the free version to all 32 question types within Edulastic. We have 6 classic question types, and we have 26 tech-enhanced question types. And they break down into math and ELA, but they can be used for a lot more. They can be used for social studies and science and electives and other classes. So, and if you are looking at your standards within Edulastic and you think, oh, they don't have my state-specific standards for Spanish or something like that, just let us know. Send us an email, include a link to those standards, and we can add those for you. And then you can start creating content and tag the content to those standards. Or better yet, you might find some national standards or some other states where there's a lot of good items, and you can just duplicate those items, make your own version, and tag them to your state standards. So there's a lot of possibilities there within a very flexible environment. And above and beyond, the ease of use, the tech-enhanced nature of Edulastic, there's also certified content. Certified content in Edulastic comes from an official source. It can come from the Edulastic content team, it can come from Engage NY, it can be SBAC released items, it can be PARCC released items, it can be items that your Department of Education has shared as practice materials that we've added to Edulastic. So as you're assessing students, especially with your own state publicly released items within Edulastic, you can have some assurance that the rigor in the questions is aligned to your state, and that the types of questions are aligned to what your Department of Education is recommending that you use. So it can be very well aligned for you. And then finally, there are integrations. Our most famous integration is our Google Classroom integration. You're able to roster sync with Google Classroom. You're able to update those rosters very easily within Google Classroom. Then you can share assessments out from Edulastic into Google Classroom. So there'll be a link that students can click on in their live activity stream in Google Classroom. Once they click on that link, they can access the assessment. And since they've been rostered in, their credentials have already been confirmed. So they get single sign-on access into Edulastic from Google Classroom. So what else do we integrate with? Office 365, Clever, and Canvas. And a Canvas integration would be part of the enterprise solution, I should mention. So let's go ahead and create a free account in Edulastic. And so here I'll log in. And actually I won't log in, I'll join for free. And I'll join for free as a teacher. When it says join for free as a teacher or student, you can do that. As an admin, it'll create a teacher account, just FYI. It'll send you a message from us asking if you'd like to know more about the enterprise subscriptions. So anyway, we'll create a teacher name here. We'll call her Karen Smith. And Karen Smith at edulastic.com. And I'll add a password as well. So I'll sign in as the teacher. And now I'm asked to join a school. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a zip code. And it's really important you select the right school. And the reason why is because it can really help you later on when you're creating an assessment and sharing it across the school, when you're sharing an assessment across the district, when you want to access an assessment that's been shared by a colleague at your school, you'll be able to do all of that, provided that you're attached to the right school. So in this case, I've selected Delray Elementary, and I can see some teachers that I recognize in there. So I can scroll around and take a look at them. And so these are my colleagues. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So I'm going to proceed as a third grade teacher of math. And these are going to be default settings for me. So it's helpful that we're setting that up. So now we'll get started. And that's as easy as it is to create an assessment. So Edulastic now is aware that we've created an account, and we have some helpful information here that's presented to us. We have, some information here to the right. Go ahead and log out of that. We have, an opportunity to see how many certified questions are in Edulastic, tagged to all sorts of different standards. as well as what's available publicly in Edulastic. And we're approaching, 100,000 questions. That'll be quite the milestone. And then here's an introductory video. I'll click play just for one quick second.
Congratulations.
And that is Ileana's voice, and it just gives you a quick overview of what to expect in Edulastic and some quick pointers as you get started. So I'm going to go ahead and create a class. I could already sync with Google Classroom here. In this case, I'm just going to manually create a class. And let's find an image to personalize this class. I have an image here, and so it's something local or whatever. You can kind of have fun with this, have a picture of your school or your students or whatever makes sense there. Then you also can create a class name. So we'll have 3rd grade math be the class name. And the class end date actually makes sense for me, so I'm not going to change that. I'll go ahead and add in 3rd grade math, and I'll select Math Common Core. And as you just type in, different letters, you can possibly find your standards. And in fact, most likely you will. If you don't see your standards in there, please reach out to us with a link and we can add those standards. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and save the class. And now we have a saved class. So at this point, I could still go ahead and integrate with Google Classroom. It would ask me to sync with Google Classroom. It would ask me to enter in the classroom code. And once I've entered in the code, the students will be all rostered in. So that will be a very quick process. And then all of a sudden, if I realize, oh, there's been some transition, there's some new students in my class, one student left, I can sync with Google Classroom again and update that roster really quickly. So people really like the Google Classroom integration. It's straightforward and it's relatively seamless. You can also give students a class code. For those of you teaching at sort of more the upper levels or, probably upper elementary on, you can give students a class code so they can create an account that way. And we can also add students individually or add multiple students. In this case, I'll just go ahead and add a couple student names. So we've added, and it said Google usernames. Of course, I ignored that. And Edulastic is telling me, hey, that's not going to fly. Those aren't Google usernames. So here are the first names and last names. Now I'm, in sync here. So here, we've added the first names and last names to these students. And so they're going to populate in my roster down below. And and you can see their usernames have kind of been randomly created. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and override everyone's password, reset it, create a new password for everybody. I can also edit a student if I wanted to, change a username or something like that. I could do that right here. So I can edit the student. Maybe I want to make it a little easier for them to remember or whatever. Maybe it's their birth date. Maybe it's their student ID number. Whatever it is, you can kind of, override some of the student information, however you want, if it's for specific students or whatever. You have the opportunity to make any adjustments that you need to, if you do need to. And so anyway, I've created I've added some students, and I've kind of shown you a little bit of the managed class area. I noticed some chats coming through. So Ileana, are there any questions so far?
Hi, John. No questions so far, just chatting about Google Classroom and Office 365. So thanks, everything's been good so far. I'll let you know if a question does come through.
That sounds great. And one thing to do, if you just go to, Google Classroom, Edulastic, there's a YouTube video that you can easily find. I think this one's about 3 minutes long, and it's actually Leslie from our team recorded it. It's really helpful, kind of shows everything that Google Classroom can do in a very quick 3-minute overview. So anyway, here I am in Karen Smith's new account, and we've added a class, and now I can go ahead and start creating some assessments. So I see right now the dashboard is still filled with some helpful information, sort of at an introductory level. I can scroll down to see my class. Of course, I can add additional classes here, go to the manage class area. But if I go to the assessments page, I can go ahead and create a new assessment. In Edulastic, there are 3 ways to create assessments. You can create assessments from scratch using the item bank. So you can author items from scratch. You can find items, certified items or publicly shared items, make your own versions of them. Or you can simply just select items that align with what you're looking for. You can also choose a pre-built assessment from the library, or you can create your own version of a pre-built test where you're making some edits and some modifications by maybe changing the order of questions, maybe adding some questions, maybe deleting some questions. There's a lot you can do there when choosing from the library. And then finally, you can create from a PDF. So if you have a lot of assessments already in Word, right now it's October 2018, and you may be very busy at this time. It might be great to create your own items. That may be something you want to put off for a little bit, but right now you just want to create a few tests. You can easily do that. So I'll start with creating from a PDF. So we'll upload the PDF, and we can select from Google Drive, or we can just go ahead and select from our desktop. And I'll go ahead and find Tech Enhanced Items. And here's my PDF test. So the way Edulastic looks at this is kind of like an image. So it doesn't really know what's on the screen, and it's relying on us to kind of point to where the question should exist and what exactly the question is. So in this case, I selected a multiple choice question, and I can edit that. If there are additional options, I can add them, or fewer options, whatever the case may be. I can go ahead and edit, and then I can select answers. I can change the point value. I can go ahead and accept them. And I'll go to the next question. Let's say this is a text entry question. Let's say the correct answer is John. We can determine whether we're ignoring uppercase or lowercase, whether we're allowing for single letter mistakes. Let's provide quite a bit of tolerance in this case. And I can change the point value, go ahead and accept it. You could have alternative answers as well. And then finally, maybe we have an essay question, or maybe we'll go ahead and just go to here for, actually here for multiple select. So here's a multiple selection. In this case, the first 3 are correct. So I'll go ahead and accept that one too. Now I skipped one, but we're just kind of imagining there are 3 questions, I suppose. So I can view this as a student as I'm building the test. So here I go ahead and view as a student, and here's the first question. So I can flag this for later if I'm having trouble with it. I can also click to wherever I want on the page. In this case, I want to start with question 1. I'll answer it A. And I'll go to question 2 and I'll type in John. And I'll go to question 3 and I'll answer C and D. So I've gone ahead and answered it. I've submitted my responses, and you can see that I got questions 1 and 2 correct. I got full credit. But question 3, I did not get correct. I got it partially right. So that would show up there. So this is kind of an idea of what the students will experience. As I continue on to the review page, then I can add the standards here. In Edulastic, the standards will always be added. So I'm adding the standards as I go, then I can go ahead and publish and assign. Why don't I go ahead and do that? And so here we go. So here we have these standards set. I'll go ahead and publish and assign. So I'll go ahead and assign. I can see the open date, the close date, the open policy, the close policy, etc. And then on the publish page, I can determine what sharing level we're going to have for this test. I can share it out to others as a link. I can share the assessment across the school library. I can add it to the district library, or I can share it with the whole community. So those are my sharing settings for an assessment within Edulastic. I mentioned there's 2 other ways to create an assessment. Let's choose from the library. So I can see that, once again, I was mentioning the defaults as we created this account. Edulastic's trying to help me here. It knows that my defaults were math grade 3, so it's letting me know how much content is available. Right now, there's nearly 4,000 questions available, just over 800 pre-built assessments. Let's go ahead and browse them. So we're looking here, and I can see there's an SBAC test that's been released. That E means it's Edulastic certified. And in fact, let's go ahead and just look at certified items right now. So I'm going to apply that filter. Now, there's some times where you may not want to look at certified items. You might realize, oh, there's some great test writers in my district or my school, or I want to share out an assessment to the district or school. These sharing options are great. Edulastic does not know, though, who these authors are. We just don't know who they are unless we've contracted with them as an official source, or we've used it as an open educational resource. So in this case, I'm looking across 3rd grade math, or actually 3rd grade everything. Let's go into science, for example. I'll go ahead and apply this filter. And we can see that there's some, Tennessee and Missouri released items and other items. I can also see John Handel from the Edulastic content team created items. And if you don't recognize the name, but you see that it's certified, most likely that's an author from our content team. And then we can select down to the standards themselves. So we can look at NGSS or specific standard. In this case, we've run out of options, but we can apply the filter and kind of look around at different standard sets as we explore Edulastic. Then we can select a standard from that standard set as well. So there's a lot of filtering we can do. Right now it's sorting by relevance. We can also sort by recency or popularity or things like that. You can see the STAR assessments from Texas are becoming popular in Edulastic. So there's a lot you can do. And so let's say we want to look at this assessment. So we have this 2016 grade 5 science released assessment. So I know that because I'm filtered by grade 3, there's some grade 3 content in here. So anyway, I'm going to click here and I'll go ahead and see what the community's thought. No ratings so far, but we have 44 questions. It's been liked 13 times. It's been used 13 times, liked 3 times. So we can go ahead and sign it, preview it. Let's go ahead and preview it. So preview it, just look at a couple quick questions. Here's a multiple choice. Here's another multiple choice and another multiple choice. And I think we get the picture here. So the good news is I'll be showing you some tech enhanced items a little later. Let's go ahead and create a new version of this test. So the great thing that we can do in Edulastic is we can determine, okay, well, question 2, I don't like that. I don't want to assign that one. So I'm going to remove that one. And, I'm just going to continue to remove a few items. This multiple choice question, that should start the assessment. So I'll move it up to the top. And you know what? I like this question a lot, but it's not exactly the way I want to teach it. So let me click here. I'm going to duplicate the question. And then I'm going to drill down or look around, click around, and then I can make my own version of the question if I want to. And I can embed a video from YouTube right in there if I want. I can embed audio from podcast or SoundCloud in there. I can also add a table. I can add a link. I can add an image. I can use the math editor, which as you can see is very robust. So you have a lot of flexibility. And then I have a Spanish editor. So that can be helpful with those accents and everything. So anyway, I can make my own version of a question. I can also author my own questions from scratch. So I have 6 classic question types to choose from. Additionally, I have 23 tech-enhanced math question types. And I have 9 tech-enhanced ELA question types. With a little bit of overlap, we have 32 question types total. So if I wanted to create a fraction editor question, I could go ahead and do that, but I'd like to know how to create one, right? This is a tech-enhanced item. I've never authored a fraction editor question in my life. How do I do this? So I click on this question mark here to see a quick video. In this case, it's 1 minute, 6 seconds.
Let's learn how to create a fraction editor question.
So I watched the video, which is great. They get right to the point, no fluff. They don't waste a word. So we've learned how to create the question. So I clicked into the question. Now I'm going to write shade 1/2 of this. And so we can move this from rectangle to circle. Are you sure? Yes. And we'll go ahead and make 8 sectors to the circle. And we'll have the correct answer be 4 out of 8. We can change the point value. We can have students use Scratchpad, which is a notepad feature where they can show their work. You can also select the standards that we want to look at for this question. So we can change them, we can modify them. That's all available by browsing for the standards or by searching just by typing in the standard. You can select a DOK level, difficulty level, add a detailed solution here, add a tag so it's easily searchable, and add a hint. So I can't remember what it was, 4/8 = 1/2, I think. So anyway, we'll go ahead and preview the question as a student, see what it looks like. So let's click the hint, and there it is, 4/8 = 1/2. It's a pretty good hint. And we'll shade in half the circle and click submit, and it's correct. And I can see my detailed solution, not so detailed, but you get the point. And I can click on show correct answer to see what the correct answer was compared to mine. In this case, it's giving me full credit because mathematical equivalency is a default setting in Edulastic. So it does recognize that that answer is correct. So you can author with any question type in the free version, and you can assess using any question type in the free version, and you have full access to the publicly shared items in the free version. And you have full access to the publicly shared certified items in the free version. And you can run as many tests as you want. You can have as many students in your class, and you can have as many classes in your account as you want. So there's just a lot of flexibility with the free version of Edulastic. And so anyway, I should point out that, I started at the library level looking at this STAR test. And, if I drill down, and I think I've made some modifications along the way, but, this is actually this question bank view. So if I was starting from scratch at the question bank, this is kind of where I'd start. The only difference is I would have 0 questions to begin with. So anyway, we can click here and add and everything like that. So that's a little bit on creating a test. So let's see a test in action. And as I set that up, I'll just ask Ileana if there's any questions so far.
Hi, John. We just had a question about setting up so when you go into the library, it automatically shows math, for example, or social studies, depending on your account. And the question was, how do I change that? So the answer for that is set the search terms that you want on the side, and then create your assessment. And when you go back to that page, the settings that you had just switched to should be there next time you show up. So they're automatically saved once you fix them to what you want.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Edulastic is trying to do you a favor. In most cases, it is. For me, not so much, because I'm always jumping all around the product. But yeah, we're trying to do our best to save some steps along the way. So let's go ahead and administer an assessment. And here I have a student named Bianca Soul. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in as her in Safari. And so she could come in via a link from Google Classroom, or she could sign in with Office 365, or she could have access to Edulastic from Clever or from Canvas. So anyway, I'm on my dashboard as a student, and just so you can see what students see, I have the tests that are ready for me to take available on the dashboard. I can see past assessments if there are any. Right now I haven't started any, at least it shows in this view from my second period course, I guess. And then there's a skill report. It's not showing anything yet, naturally, because no tests have been taken. And then there's the managed class area. So if I'm Bianca and I'm being asked to join a few different Edulastic classes, perhaps from a few different teachers, I can join those classes by clicking here entering the class code, and then I'm good to go. And I can kind of toggle between these different classes. So anyway, let me go to the dashboard. And here's the free teacher account, Edulastic 2018-2019. We're in the right place. So we begin to start the assessment. Meanwhile, the teacher sees that Bianca hasn't yet started, but that's going to change really quickly. So Bianca is starting the assessment. And here is a drag and drop number line question. And here is a graphing question. And here is an expression evaluator question that involves Scratchpad. So this is where we can show our work as the student. So I can, use the text editor to detail my response in steps. So these sisters are picking blueberries. 4/8 plus 3/8 equals 7/8 cups of blueberries. They're baking with 6/8 cups. So how many remain? So we've gone ahead and put in our work. And there's other ways that we can kind of show our work. Of course, I can highlight and illustrate and just have some fun and be expressive in what I'm showing. I can also use math tools and other tools within Edulastic. So that's what's available as a student. And if I wanted to click back into Scratchpad, I could. And I could also click out again. And teachers will have access to all of that in real time. So anyway, we've gone ahead and answered the question. I'll go to the next question. Here's a video question where we added a video via YouTube, most likely, into Edulastic.
And can you by no drift of conference get from him why he puts on this confusion?
And there's Patrick Stewart there in Hamlet. So we'll go ahead and answer the question. I'll get it partially right. And then here is a text evidence or highlighting or sentence response question. It's asking us to click on the adjective. So we're kind of looking at our choices here and we'll arrive at the right answer in this case. And now I'm being asked to read two passages and answer some questions to the right, in this case, a multi-part question relating to these two passages. So I'll go ahead and highlight the passages as I go, as it makes sense. If I want to expand the view, I can. I can also change the view to expand it on this side, whatever makes sense. And I'm going to go ahead and answer this. And as I'm answering this passage-based question here, which is question 6, the teacher can see all of this in real time. So which question did we get partially right? Well, that's question number 4. And we can click there to see it. So here's that question from Hamlet and the correct answer and everything else. So nothing's incorrect so far, but I can see how Bianca's doing, and I'll be able to provide feedback at the assessment level and question level soon. So why can't I provide feedback yet? The reason why I can't provide feedback yet is because Bianca hasn't submitted her test. She could go back to any of these questions and change her answer, making my feedback not very helpful or relevant. I can also look across the questions as this is going on in real time. I can see, wow, question 8 is taking a long time for students to complete. Why is that? And click into question 8 and see, okay, well, I see who took so long. It's John Kendall. So that's interesting information, and maybe we'll work with John there. I could also go to other questions, like question 3. Like, people were having some trouble with it. There is, some average time in seconds was a little bit more, but let me click into this. So I can review students' work and see this is Bianca's work. You can just kind of see how all these students answered this question. How'd they do? What's, what do these responses look like? What kind of understanding can I gain from these student submissions? And so I can kind of see, okay, you kind of get this, but I can see specific areas where the understanding may have broken down, specific areas where a step is missing or a step is, they're getting confused. So I can see all of this and just click around, and I can click around from question to question. I can click around from student to student. It's just really user-friendly and easy to look at. And then I can look at standards. So not only can I drill down to the question and the student, but here's the standard view. So I can see the domain, I can see the standards, I can see the questions aligned to those standards, and the average score. So this gives me, and this is a demo environment, so I'm, every standard under the sun is being assessed. It's probably not going to be the case in a lot of your assessments, but that's what you see there. I also wanted to show you the standards mastery report. So in this reports area, you have access to one of our most popular views within our in-depth reports. And those other views are available in some of the paid subscriptions. But when you click into view report, you can see the student names, as well as, if we refine results, we can kind of look domain by domain. How are these students doing? Why hasn't Sabina Rose mastered this standard? Why just 33%? Well, you can see where Sabina has been assessed on this standard and how that calculation came to be. We can also look by score or mastery level or mastery score. So this gives us a lot of good information that would then be available. So meanwhile, the student can go ahead and finish the test. We have a drag and drop labeling question. We have a matching tables question. And we have a drop-down labeling style question. So I'll get this mainly right, I guess. And then finally, a social studies drag and drop labeling question. And so we'll go ahead and see how well we do. And a lot of times when students are new to Edulastic, they might not get it. Like, it's just not working. That's the perfect environment for them to struggle with a drag and drop question, is early in the year on a formative test that you've assigned. I can think of a worse environment, and that's at the end of the year on a high stakes test when they're already under a lot of pressure to perform well, or they're feeling that pressure. So this gives them an opportunity to kind of learn how to get familiar and comfortable with these questions. So drag and dropping Asia in there, and I think we're good to go. So I've gone ahead and submitted my responses. You can see there's no teacher feedback so far. We have 10 out of 12 right, that's 83%. 2 of these questions are worth 2 points. The rest of them are worth 1 point. And this is what I can see so far as a student. As a teacher now, I am able to give some feedback to Bianca. So I'll go ahead in here and click on Bianca's scores. I can provide some overall feedback for Bianca on October 9th, 2018. And I can also go into the specific question 6 that she missed. I can, maybe if I want to override a score, I could. In this case, I'll just provide some question level feedback. And then finally, we'll see how she did on that Scratchpad question. We'll go to question number 3, and we'll provide some additional feedback here. So click there. I can also review the solution as a teacher. It's just accessible ready for me right there. So now I've clicked over to Safari. Well, where's all this feedback? I don't see any changes really. So if I click down to the question level or click off the screen and back, or even if I just refresh my screen, I'll see all the changes. So now I refresh my screen. I'm going to my assessments area, and I can click right here. And I can see the overall feedback for me on October 9th. I can also click on question 3 and see the feedback from question 3. I can see how many points I got. I can see what I got right. I can view my work in Scratchpad, and I can see the hint and the detailed solution that the content author, in this case it's Engage New York, provided. So that's the entire feedback loop as a student using Edulastic. So what I showed today was showing how to create a free account in Edulastic, how to manage the class, how to add students, how to create a test, and how to publish and assign that test, how to monitor student performance on the live class board, how to view mastery, and also just an example of a tech-enhanced assessment from the point of view of a teacher and a student. I did mention I would show some additional resources, and they're available on our training hub. I'm already there, so I'll show you how to get there. So here I'm at edulastic.com. I'm clicking on the training hub, and we're here to help. And so I can click here for getting started videos, links to our YouTube channel. So this goes right to our YouTube channel and all the videos there, which there are many, and they're very helpful. There's common questions are answered in our knowledge base. And then we have blog entries and other articles that are shared. And some of them I think are really helpful in sharing best practices. We have Sunday spotlights, which highlight how individual teachers every week, we pick out a teacher and talk to them about how they use Edulastic. So that's really nice to read. You can also train other teachers here by going and downloading a free teacher training kit from the, and I can just download it via PDF or PowerPoint, and then I can make modifications from there. So I don't have to, invent the wheel here. It's already been created. It's kind of Edulastic's greatest hits are there, kind of an overview. So I can make some modifications, personalize it a bit, and then lead a training myself. So that's all available there as well. And for those of you interested in what's included in a premium or what we call a super teacher version, we have a premium 101 webinar that we just recorded, I believe it was last week. So feel free to explore that on our YouTube channel. And I think that's about all I have. We'll spend the rest of the time answering questions and just providing additional information.
Thanks, John. That was an awesome overview. I hope everyone who joined us today enjoyed the presentation and enjoyed learning about all these different features that Edulastic can provide you. We have a couple questions that came through on the chat that I will read out loud, and then we can answer them. One of them is a question about the storage of questions. So Bianca's wondering, are you required to make a test and then add the questions to it? And he's wondering, basically, can you pick from the questions later? So is there a way to pick from a bank of questions that you've created? The answer to that is that you need to have an assessment that is essentially the home to the questions. So if you wanted, you could just create an assessment, maybe call it question or items sandbox, add the questions that you want to work from, and then later you can choose from your own questions in the Edulastic's item bank, and you can keep those questions private, you can share them publicly. Either way, you can choose from your questions later to create an assessment. The other question was, how do I save an assessment so I can use it next year? So John, I was thinking maybe you can show the assessment dashboard.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so when you create an assessment and assign it, you can go to this assessments area here. And the assessment will be here, and you can filter your assessments in a few different ways. The ones that I've assigned, the most recent, and here you can see a lot of drafts that I've created. So it does save your drafts, which is nice, and this is where you can access that. And you can also look at your assessments versus ones assigned to your classes. Well, what's the difference? In the paid versions, there are common assessments that you can do you can administer in Enterprise. They would be assigned to your classes that aren't actually your assessments. So anyway, there's a couple different options, and you can create new folders too. You can just enter a folder name, and can tell how creative I am today, Edulastic, and you can go ahead and move things, into folders and everything like that. So we'll go ahead and move this draft into Edulastic. We'll move it. So it's easy to, manage and organize. And that's where I'd encourage you to look for, your recently published or created or shared assessments. And you can always then assign them again. And you can look, and you have different actions that you can take. This by the way, is where you would share it out into Google Classroom. This is where you could assign it again. You could make a duplicate version of the assessment, make some modifications, and assign the modified assessment. You can also preview it. You can view responses. That gets you to the live class board. And then you can print the assessment and delete it, so you have quite a few options.
Great. Does that answer those questions? I see that makes sense. And Lisa says yes. Great.